Good evening, my friends. Oh man, I'm excited about this one. It's good to see you guys. Very soon after just being live just a few hours ago. So this is a little bittersweet, but not really. After my stream today, I started pondering, and it's not like a big deal, but I'm excited to announce. I'm excited to have these people on my live stream on my channel as guests today for two reasons. One, because they're awesome, and I just am dying to talk to them. But two, um, they will be my last guests on this show for an indefinite period. I'll still have, like, if there's like a really like special, like uh something that just is spontaneously going to happen, then and it's a big deal, then yeah, it's not that people are not welcome on my channel anymore. That's not what I'm trying to say. There's just a lot in the community right now going on, and um you know I and I'm not trying to bad talk other channels here either. I'm just saying I I realize that there are guests, that there are members of the community, there are creators who kind of tug a war at some of these guests because they want them. And I'm not even really referring to Betero. This isn't really about Betero. um you know and the thing is I don't need, and again, I'm not trash talking other channels. I'm just saying I don't need to have guests to make my show work. I like having guests from time to time, but right now, I think what I'm going to do is just really focus on my relationship with you guys, the community, and just keep it, you know. Now, like, of course, if Aiden wants to come up here, he's always welcome. He's a friend, and a friend of the channel, and there's situations like that may come up, like a quick, but going out and finding people and reaching out to them, and then organizing and all that stuff, I'll leave that to the channels that really that's their bread and butter, is having guests on, and I don't want to compete with anybody in the community. I just want to do my thing and support Karen and Aiden as best as I can, and I want to try to, like, create more of a lane for myself in doing that, going along the same direction as everyone else, if that makes sense. Just trying not to step on any toes here. I don't want to be part of anything that's going on that's causing tension between creators, especially not now. This is a crucial time. And the last thing that I want right now is to be in a situation or put myself in a situation that could cause rifts with other creators so close to trial. I don't want to do that. I really enjoyed how the community came together the last trial, and we need that more than ever this time. So that's just the nature of that decision. So I've kept them waiting for way too long. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Just to Serve TV, the hosts, Michael Bryant and Linda Kenny Baden, I believe it is.
It's actually Baden, but it's okay.
Baden. Okay,
yeah,
I will
it's like
remember
a spa, that. Baden.
She is a bad one, so
How's it going, guys?
What's happening?
What's happening? Well, I thought my technological skills were terrible. I was trying to get on the channel, and I was like,
yes,
oh, I can't do it. I'm not.
She was lost in the wilderness.
Apparently, I gave you plenty of time because I have these ridiculously long intros. But
we're happy to be here. We're really happy to be here. I mean,
man, I'm so excited to have you guys. And I'm not, listen, I don't consider myself a journalist of any kind at all whatsoever. When I have people up here, we just have a natural conversation. I don't prep for these things. I just hope that we have a cool dynamic enough to where we can have a conversation and have some banter, and the chat enjoys it. So I don't do interviews.
All right, but that's okay.
But the big talk, I'll just start with this. The big talk in the community about your channel, one of the things that everyone discusses is Linda, your husband being Michael Baden, the pathologist. He's a pathologist, correct?
He's a forensic board certified forensic pathologist.
And he is the one who got the ball rolling on the Sandra Birchmore arrest of Farwell, I would think, right? Because he's the one he independently was hired to perform this autopsy, and he determined that it was in fact a murder.
Right.
And that I don't even know how much you know, but in this community, your husband is a hero. Because
that's in most communities, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I always say that my husband doesn't share with me his work, and I've told the story, Will, that with the Birchmore case, we have a small cabin in the woods that we travel to, where I am now. And the thing about it is, I didn't even know he was involved with it. All of a sudden, I'm reading. I read something that comes up on like Google, right? Or you go to your Google page, and it's the algorithms put it there because he's my husband. And then I hear the phone starting to ring upstairs. I'm in my office downstairs. He's upstairs, right? And I went upstairs. I said, "Is this your case that I'm reading about?" And he said, "Yeah. I've been on the phone with it all afternoon, with the attorneys, and that was kind of like it. I mean, I learned about what he does, right? Because he's so close-lipped through the news media usually."
Right. Wow. Because there's someone named Mizzy, and she'll probably pop up in the chat at some point if she's not already here. But she has been the voice and keeping Sandra Birchmore's name out there.
Wow.
And right now, so to her, like what your husband did is just at the top of her list, because
do all of your viewers know the Birchmore story? I guess they do.
Yes, because of the ties to the similarities to the Karen Reed case, and also the Justin Root case, and now also the Aiden Carney Turtle Boy case. There she is, a mixed girl in a mixed up world is Mizzy. Yeah, and just like that, I appear, she says. But yeah,
I see.
She has been the engine behind keeping Sandra Birchmore's name out there.
Wow.
So she's very beloved in the community.
So what's the latest in that, Will, through her or what you know? Where are they procedurally with that? Seems to be so hush-hush.
That's something you would have to ask her because she's much more well-versed on it. But my interest right now, because I'm so invested in the Karen Reed case, is Fanning's name coming up. And Fanning being the lead investigator in Sandra Birchmore's case. So one could say he was instrumentally involved in the determination that she committed suicide, which was false.
Right.
And then you have Guarino, who missed all of those thousands of text messages. And, so those names coming up, and then Fanning's name coming up as being in charge of that jury, just raises a lot of antennas, so that's kind of where my focus has been. I've been slipping on keeping up with the Sandra Birchmore thing.
And with that, didn't Hank Brennan come to his defense? Said the defense in some way, without even mentioning the Birchmore case, was maligning a wonderful person in the community or something.
Oh yeah, he built him up to be a decorated dude. Oh, for sure. So I want to get a little history on you guys, because you guys have a very, very colorful history. And I know my audience would find that very interesting. Let's start with you, Michael. Like, give us a little background on you.
Well, I'm still not sure what I want to be when I grow up. So, I started in this crazy business decades ago, began practicing law, then melded them in a little thing called the Legal Edge, which was a syndicated program for about 8 years, won some Emmys, moved on to Court TV, and then ultimately Law and Crime. That's where Linda and I met. Along the way, produced a few shows. I Survived a Crime, which has been on Netflix and A&E and a number of others. So Linda and I, the way things were set up at Law and Crime, we never in the same building, really, because it was shift work, basically. Okay. So we would very seldom even have conversations. But we knew we, kind of appreciated what one another did. And so we had a dinner with our spouses, and it was somewhere around Thanksgiving-ish time, as I recall, a year or so ago. And we just kind of clicked, on a personal level, professional, we kind of knew one another. And it was like, we should do something. Let's do something. And at the time we were still on Law and Crime, and we were very respectful of Law and Crime, and we weren't going to try to, use that as a vehicle to promote what we wanted to do. In fact, we kept it totally separate, but started our own little thing on the side. And by little, I mean, like, let's do a 5-minute show on something, and then we would post it, and then we go, okay, that was fun. And it was getting no real attention, but that's okay. We were just goofing around.
It is fun. It is fun, isn't it?
Of course. I mean, that's why I've always done this. My wife gets mad because I tell her I'm not working. I'm just fucking around.
Right.
That's what I do.
I refuse to call this work.
Yeah.
I just refuse to, because I love it so much, and because I seriously, every time I wing it, I just go live. I mean, you saw how procrastinating I am when it comes to planning. You know what I mean? So I just go live, and then I look at it like I'm hanging out with my people. You know what I mean?
That's
and
the way it should be.
it's always a good time. And when I started seeing you guys streaming your guys' dynamic, I fell in love with immediately. I was like, oh, these guys are great. And this was after having met you, Michael. So I had already,
which of course put a bad spin on things, so we had to recover from that.
I mean, I realize you're being facetious, but no, it was actually a really, really good impression. I was just like, wow, because I loved the fact that you took the time to go to the basement of the Registry of Deeds and talk to the supporters. You really wanted to get their perspective, and it was coming from a very honest place. And
I had to go to the bathroom, Will. The bathroom's down there. So I had to go to the bathroom. And then, I would see everybody queuing up in there because, the weather was bad. And when the proceedings were underway, they wanted to watch it somewhere. So and it was just a very interesting communal experience, right? And so for the first day, I was like, I don't know if I want to invade that. They have this thing. But after that second day, I decided I'm going to invade it. And I just asked people, do you want to, talk about this? You certainly don't need to. And Dina started. What a shock. Dina started, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And you were there that day, and you spoke up, and I went, this dude's here from Tennessee. I mean, that's a commitment. And so I really was taken by the passion people have for this case. And as I've begun to learn over the weeks that I've been up there, off and on, that it's a bigger problem and a bigger passion and a bigger concern for these people. Karen Reed, as I say, is a symptom of this bigger disease that people see within the policing community there, the prosecution, all the way up to the DA and maybe beyond. So it's a captivating story, and the people are just down to earth, real people who would doggone it like to see the right thing done, and that's kind of a thing for me. So,
yeah, I could tell that right away when the way you were asking the questions and the attention that you were just giving everyone when we all took our turns to speak, and I could tell you, everyone, when you're saying I didn't want to invade their space, they, I don't like to speak for them because I don't like to be a spokesperson for them, but I can honestly say that I know that they welcomed you absolutely, because the media has made them out to be something that they're not constantly. And it's mind-blowing because it's all documented. You have Tom CPU, who goes out there, has gone to just about every hearing and documented every single, live streamed every moment outside of the courthouse. So that right there is just proof that, the media saying that they're rabid and all of this is just nonsense.
Well, isn't that also fomented by this whole idea of this 500-foot zone? I mean, Tom CPU was gracious enough the other day, before we even really knew him, Michael knew him, to give us access to his feed with the Karen Reed defense team coming in. Just very, very sweet to do that, because it was one of the days we're not there. But this whole idea that you need to have 500 feet so that, you know, the supporters who are loud and boisterous and all don't infect the jury? I mean, doesn't the prosecutor, by asking for that, foment that?
I mean, to me, it's I'm of the opinion, I know that I don't share the same opinion with legal experts, you know, because you're going to look at it from a legal standpoint about motions and whether they should be granted or denied. And is this a First Amendment issue? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, to me, it's just plain a First Amendment issue. As a layman, it's just plain a First Amendment issue. Anybody should be able to wear whatever t-shirt they want. You can't tell people what they can wear and what they can't outside of a public courthouse, outside of a building that they pay taxes to keep the doors open for. I mean, it's asinine to me that it's the audacity behind it is befuddling to me. Even for a judge, you know, for a prosecutor to file the motion, but worse for a judge to grant it. And then say that it's in the name of Karen Reed having a fair trial. It's ridiculous. If she's presumed innocent before guilty, then why can't she have supporters out there and let the jury even see it? Who cares?
Of course. I'm okay with the crowd control aspect just for safety purposes, you know, but that's easy to handle. They've already got the stanchions and things up there along the curb. They're controlling the flow of traffic. That's fine. I mean, that's all you need to do.
Yeah. And I point out, Will, I live in Manhattan. My office is in Manhattan on 53rd between 5th and 6th. We have a President Trump's building right down the street. When he comes in, they only close off, like, they don't even close off. There's one half of a street that's closed off, and there's stanchions. That's the President of the United States, right? That they're worried about whether or not something's going to happen to him. And yet here, I mean, Karen Reed, 500 feet? I mean, my Jets, I'm a New York Jets supporter. Don't judge. Okay?
That's another pain.
Don't judge. I'm thinking to myself, almost 2 football fields, right? Almost 2 football fields when you think of it that way, right? That's a long way, including behind the public library, which is the taxpayers are paying for. Come on.
And if you look at, you know what, Dizzy, one of our mods, did a great job of creating a graphic that shows what the 200-foot barrier looked like last time, and then what the extension looks like. Where they've extended basically slaps down any opportunity for anybody to park and gather where they were last time. The only real open spaces. Everything else is more congested, either with residential or some businesses. But they've crafted this extension in a way that just makes it almost impossible for anybody to gather. And we had Scott McGinnis on the other day, and you know, he's embedded there. He knows every day what's happening and what's not. And it's not like they just took the 200 and blew it up equilaterally, you know, on all sides. They just pushed out one side that happens to cover the area where everybody parked and gathered.
Right. It just seems as though it's designed so that the public watching from afar on television can't see the support Karen has. And it's really, it's just, it bothers me. But I mean, the thing is this doesn't deter the supporters at all. Like they're gonna be out there. They're gonna continue to spread the word, and they're gonna and the numbers are gonna be. I don't even know how they're gonna pull that off, because Karen is gonna have more support this time around than ever, especially after the ID channel thing. So I mean, this is crazy. We're gonna get into that, but I still want to get some background here on Linda. If you want to give us a little synopsis of your career.
Sure.
We would be very grateful.
Well, let's start out. I probably was born coming out of the womb wanting to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer, you know, at a time when women weren't going into being criminal defense lawyers. They were wearing little bow ties and doing family law. Not that that's not important. It's extremely important, but that's not what I wanted to be. I wanted to stand up for people's rights and all. And I was a prosecutor. I was a clerk to the top judge in New Jersey, appellate judge in New Jersey. And then I was a prosecutor to get my experience. In New Jersey, where I was, we had no issues with discovery. You just gave everything over, right? No big issues. So that was never in my milieu. And then I went out into private practice, and handled some pretty high-profile cases in my career, and if I don't handle them, they usually come to me to put together the appellate teams, and that's what I tried to do. And I may be the only commentator that's on TV that has ever tried a case against Alan Jackson, and that was the Phil Spector one case where I got the hung jury.
That's wild.
Right.
So,
And we were in the courtroom
so
battling for 6 months. So I have a different perspective.
Let me paint this. Let me set this picture up for the audience here. So you're saying that, so Phil Spector, who went on trial for murder, you were prosecuting that case, and Alan
I was
Jackson
defending.
Oh, you were defending, and
Yeah,
Alan
was the prosecutor. Right.
That's fascinating.
Right.
So what was it like? What was your impression of Alan Jackson at the time?
Every day was a fight. I mean, I think his impression of him, my impression of him was the same as me. Always prepared. It was always going to be a fight. It was never going to be easy. He was a terrific prosecutor. I think he thought I was a terrific defense attorney. And we were two warriors at that battle, but we tried to battle fairly, you know. And on the second, I didn't try the second case because I had ended up with pneumonia and all, but I did come back for the closings, and nothing but cordial. And Mike O'Brien grabbed Alan outside the courthouse and asked him, "What do you think of me?" And I love Linda, you know, because I think that we had that mutual respect. Okay. Yeah. But he is tough in the court. He's a tough cross-examiner. He is going to, you know, take no prisoners. And you better, if you're against him, have your side prepared, and you better be prepared. But he's not going to try to do dirty, but he's going to go right up to the line, just like I'll go right up to the line, because the line is okay. So if you cross the line, like I think some things have been done on the prosecutor's side right now, that I have a problem. But Alan is, I have no bad words to say against Alan Jackson. And I'm sure if you asked him, he'd have no bad words to say against me.
I don't think he would. So, man, I got to say, I got an idea here, and I have witnesses in the chat. I have witnesses in the chat, and Alan Jackson said that he would, when this is all over, he would be on this show, and I would love to have you on as well.
Oh, I love it.
The two of you together would be amazing. I would absolutely love to have
I'd love to see AJ and all. And I think, you know, I think he's done a great job. And what's upset me, and Michael Bryant knows this, is that I think somewhere along the line of doing a great job, Judge Beverly Cannoni decided that somehow with this whole arc of bullshit, when he didn't hire them, but they billed him after the testimony, that somehow she thought that maybe he wasn't being completely honest with her, and therefore honest with the jury, and she got a little bit of a taint against him. And I've been against that taint, because I think that could have been handled, if she felt that way, privately, with a sealed transcript in her chambers, released after. But that it affected Karen Reed, right? It was putting the defense kind of like on their heels when Hank Brennan comes in and say, well, they didn't do this, but they did do that. Okay, they did turn over the discovery, and I think that was wrong, and I still think it's wrong. And by the way, I teach at Harvard trial advocacy every year, almost. Some years I've missed it, but not this past year. I teach the first week with a lot of other people, about 130 students. And on the third week are the judges. And Judge Cannoni is one of the judges on the third week. I never met her, but she's in the same trial advocacy workshop that I teach at Harvard.
Fascinating. Okay. Have you ever met her?
Never met her, because right. the first week are the lawyers who actually try cases, you know, Joe Tacopina, Ben Chu, Jose Baez, myself, right? We're the ones teaching. Yes, we're the ones teaching the young people who are second and third year law students how to try cases. The third week is after they've been taught, they go before the judge and they try their case, and the judges give them pointers. So, you know, we're in the trenches with, I say the kids, but they're not kids, but you know, everyone in my world to me is a kid.
I mean, say what you will about Casey Anthony, but Jose Baez is a hell of a lawyer, man. Like I know,
and I did the forensic work on that case. I did all the way up. Right.
Wow, really?
I did all the forensic work with Jose. Yeah.
Wow. Because I even then, I wasn't even following true crime, but everybody knew about this case. But I was even then just being a completely different person at the time, was like, yeah, she did it, but man, she's got a really good lawyer. Like, this dude knew what he was doing.
Well, we'll have a private discussion about whether she did it, because those of us who represented her absolutely did not believe she did it, and we believed, again, the forensics. Yes, we believe the forensics was absolutely ridiculous, and that's we put together the whole forensic case, you know, with the bullshit science, we call it, or the fantasy forensics. So Jose is a very good friend of mine. I love Jose to death.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I wasn't there, but I mean, you know, but I have always spent all these years going, dude, she totally did it. What about, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but since I've got you here, I've got a question that I've got to, it just came to me. It's always bugged me about the Casey Anthony thing. The Firefox search. Search that took place while Casey Anthony's father was clocking into work. And so she had to have done it, right?
Nope.
The search for how long? No.
So, you know, again, we'll sit and talk about it, because one of the things the prosecutor didn't do is there's also a phone call from the father to her that they never went there because they thought that it showed the father, I believe, actually was trying to get rid of the body of the child. Okay. But they never went there. You'd be surprised all of you who listen to all this stuff about searches on phones and Cellbrite and all that kind of stuff, what you don't realize is that, you know, your Cellbrite reports are like, you know, if you get everything, is a lot, and you have to go through every single thing, and also the phone downloads and all. There's so much in there, and I told the story, and Michael Bryant's heard it a number of times now, with Aaron Hernandez, where the prosecution didn't even see that the other person that was in the car with Aaron Hernandez and the double murder that Jose and Ron and I got the acquittal for, didn't even see the fact that that person said to the fact, what if he lied to the grand jury? You know, and they didn't even notice it. They didn't pick it up. We picked it up. And we talked to them about it because they were good prosecutors and they were good people, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? They prosecute to be good. The prosecutors aren't bad people because they're prosecutors. I was a prosecutor. But they said, you know, we didn't see it. We didn't see it, because you have to really look sometimes, and you have to go through this stuff. So all of you think, and also look, the prosecutor in the Casey Anthony case had her searching for, what was it? What was the chloroform or something, like 300 times. It turns out he tried calling them, the guy who did it, and said he was wrong. It was one search on MySpace, and what happens is software, which was new, was coming up to be, every time it hit MySpace, it reamed it as chloroform, but it wasn't. It was actually a MySpace search. So things happen. What prosecutors put forward aren't necessarily the truth, and everyone thinks they are, Will.
Yeah. Jesus. So where are you guys at? I'll start with Michael on this question. Where are you guys at as far as the way Beverly Cannoni is? What do you have any theories as to why she's so hell-bent on starting this trial on April 1st?
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, and you know, everybody's just guessing, you know, speculating, you know.
Sure,
sometimes it's the snowballing court calendar, because we know how that works, you know. Anything you put one thing off, it just caroms off so many other cases. So that's possible. Some people have said there's that audit of some sort that's coming out soon, a police audit that may somehow affect what happens to her or to those involved in this case. So she wants to get it done before that. Some suggest it's because she has some aspirations and may not be on the bench that much longer. Who knows? But it is kind of curious that she's just spearheaded this do or die April Fool's Day. It is odd.
It's so bizarre.
I mean, look where we are. This is the Friday really before. Monday is still the last kind of free day. I'm pretty sure it's going to be eaten up with the new stuff that's been filed today. They got nowhere else to cram it but Monday. And I believe during the course of this trial, we're going to have all kinds of like jury coming in later on a given day because they got to fight about something in the morning. I don't think this is going to be tied up in a neat bow just because the jury selection process begins on Tuesday.
You know, and it's
No
unfair.
way.
It's unfair a little bit to Karen Reed too, because her attorneys for the past month, instead of prepping for trial, have been in court almost every day, having to deal with all of these motions and all. And then people ream them and say, "Oh, look at the kind of defense team she has." Well, the prosecutor has like 60 prosecutors. They've got investigators. They got police forces. The attorneys that are on the front line, the ones that are going to try the case, are have to go in court and deal with all this bullshit every single day. And I'm going to call it bullshit because it should have been done rightly. There should have been enough time to deal with it. Because I've been on the other side. I've been a defense
Agreed.
attorney that has to deal with that.
Yeah, because it's not just that she's hell bent on it being April 1st. She's showing you how hell bent she is on April 1st because there's all these motions and she's not giving anybody enough time, as you just explained, to address them, to properly argue them, to properly prepare them, against them or whatever. It's really, really like, it's very strange, this agenda that Judge Beverly Cannoni seems to have. No matter how much I try to give her the benefit of the doubt, she seems to constantly have this agenda. It's very, very bizarre.
Yeah, she even tried the speed dating rule. 2 minutes for your argument.
There's Olivia right
what,
there.
What is that? I mean, oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean that is. I've never seen that before, and I wouldn't put up with it. If I'm making an argument, I've got a client, I'm got a duty toward. Sorry, Judge, I can't do this in 2 minutes. What other options do you have?
Oh, I see somebody doesn't want to listen to me. But you know what? The person doesn't want to listen to me because I represent these people. If you're a Karen Reed supporter, there's a lot of people out there that think that Karen Reed is guilty, okay? And that the attorneys representing her are somehow on the take. So I'd say be a little bit careful because juries sit there all day for months and they hear the evidence, not the bullshit. They hear the evidence. And those jurors hear the evidence and they come to a conclusion.
And listen, we're all adults here, people. We've got experienced attorneys on the panel with us right now, and she has that insight. We should just be grateful that she has that insight. She did her job. Like, we can't sit here on one side of our mouth, talk about how the American justice system needs to work fairly for Karen Reed, and then all of a sudden get mad at somebody for doing what their job is to do, which is to give Casey Anthony a fair shake, period. So I am honored to have Linda up here. I'm proud to have her up here, and I'm happy I'm thrilled and grateful to get her insight on something like that. That to me is amazing. I never thought I would be talking to somebody who did the forensics on that case, sitting here on my channel. I'm blown away. So
well, we're blown away that we're on with you. We love being on with you. We love your passion. Michael Bryant just, he seemed to have bonded with you and you're there. And we do. We love your passion.
I appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you guys up here, because I love your passion. I was a guest on your channel. We had very similar conversation and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I was like, I got to get them on my channel because I want to, any subscribers that I have that you guys don't have, I want them over to you as well, because I find your insights to be extremely valuable.
Well, we appreciate that. This is one thing, after decades in the TV biz, one thing that's so different about this is how collaborative it is. Because I can tell you, coming up through local, regional to national and network projects, it is a backstabbing, business. And this is very different. This is and refreshing and hard to get used to if you come from that other world. So I appreciate that. And this is a perfect example of how, everybody wants, they're following, in this case, one particular subject, but I've found it in all these different cases we've been covering. I don't know, because I met you through this case, Will. When this case was not a case, were you doing other true crime stuff? Were you doing just a hodgepodge of stuff? What were you doing?
I was just always doing my thing. I mean, honestly, I don't approach, it may come a little more natural to me these days, but I've always done this, my, set has evolved a bit since I started, quite a bit. I used to stream from a bedroom with a dresser behind me, but and when I did that, that was the proudest things before this that I ever got to do with this channel. I got to have Colton Harris Moore. I don't know if you know who that is. Colton Harris Moore was known as the Barefoot Bandit in the news.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we're talking, he stole like 5 airplanes, taught himself how to fly a plane. Um, and he did all this between the ages of, I think, 16 and 19. Broke into, burglarized. He's not proud of it. But the press and the media made him out to be some sort of folk hero, and he went to prison, and he did, I think, 6 years. And then when he got out, he was just focused on, I mean, he spent that whole time actually rehabilitating. He knew what he did was wrong. He took full accountability for it. He spent all of his time he made, I think, a $3 million deal with 20th Century Fox to sell his story that would go directly towards the reimbursement of his victims.
Yeah.
So this is a stand-up guy, and now he's just off the grid. I would love to talk to him again because he was really supportive about my channel building, and he's just a really amazing. And if you go back and watch it, I was so wet behind the ears, but he was like fascinating to listen to. I've never heard somebody explain concepts of money. He's like a financial wizard, and like, yeah, he's brilliant. So he didn't talk to the press, so it was pretty exclusive that I had him on here, and I was just this small time, just starting out YouTuber.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you. Is that for me, RBG? Susan, Linda, I watched your opening statement on Phil Spector. It was masterclass. Thank you very much. I think Time Magazine did an article and said the same thing. It was interesting. Someday we'll talk about having to share an opening statement with my co-counsel at that point for a few weeks. That was Bruce Cutler. So someday we'll talk about that.
Now, yeah. So I'd say, right now, what everybody's been kind of talking about before today, because I don't know how much you guys want to get into that about the phones and whatnot, but we can discuss that. But I was going to talk about the juror from the last trial now being on Karen Reed's defense team. I'll start with you, Linda, on that one.
See, I thought it was pretty masterful in that she can give them insight as to what arguments affected her and whether she was talking to people. And then now she's covered by the attorney-client privilege, right? Because she's an attorney. It was interesting, though. Last night we had on who I believe is the best jury consultant in the world. He's picked all of my juries, and including did a lot of pro bono work for the case I had in Tennessee, in Maynardville, Tennessee, which we can talk about. I don't know how close that is to you, Will. And he said that
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, it's 40 miles outside Knoxville. It's
on the other side.
Chances are, if I said the town that I live in, nobody would have heard of it.
And the reason why some people may know it is because in the movie Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino, they asked the Brad Pitt character, "Where are you from, sir?" And he says, "Maynardville, Tennessee, sir." And the reason he does is because Quentin Tarantino puts something in near Knoxville in all of his movies, and he puts Maynardville. And I said, I've been there. I didn't blend.
Really? I've never caught that. I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I'm gonna look for that from now on. That'll give me an excuse to really watch his whole catalog.
Interesting enough. And he also used to have Peter Bogdanovich, who's died, do a radio announcer, so you'd hear his voice. It would always be a radio announcer. It was always Peter Bogdanovich. Just a little piece of trivia in case you're ever on Jeopardy that you can have.
I remember when I was a teenager, I would have killed it on like any pop culture based game show. Like from home, I'd be like, "Come on!" But now I'm so out of the loop because I'm old. I'm one of those guys that just listens. I like what I like from the old days. So that's where I'm at now. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but anyhow, Richard Gabriel, it was on our channel last night, and if you go back and listen, he didn't think it added that much, and I forget exactly how he put it. Michael, do you remember, Michael? Brian,
he really didn't think. First of all, because she didn't deliberate, right? So that was one thing that he thought was less than helpful. She wasn't a traditional trial attorney, more. She did labor law and a couple of other more tangential things, not criminal law. But I had to challenge him on a couple of things too. I said, well, what about the fact that she can tell you as firsthand as anybody could how something worked or didn't work, right? You know, she was, as an alternate, she's still hearing everything. So
Yeah.
what you're able to ask her, you know, what if we're going to go this way with a witness? How did that play the first time? Well, I think that sucked. You should have done this other thing. I think that's invaluable. So I got him a little bit off of he was really poo-pooing it at first. You know, it was really like, I don't think it was really that smart or that big a deal. And I think we challenged him to get him a little bit off of that opinion. But I think, like Linda, that it was brilliant. There's zero downside. What's the downside to doing it? Zero.
Yeah, there's right. And it's funny because it's just the kind of thing that makes news too. Like everybody, you know, so I wonder if that had something to do with the defense's strategy. Was
how about
you know,
how about the
get a buzz going, you know?
Judge Bev in your face angle? Because remember, she had gotten rid of Betterow. You know, he tries to, you know, nobody's heard of, at least folks that I've talked to, Linda's talked to, attorneys we've worked with. Nobody's ever heard of a pro hac VJ being denied without some very specific reason, not this vague, well, there may be a conflict somewhere, so just in case. That's ridiculous. So I'm thinking this might have been a little bit of a get even, you know. She's a Massachusetts attorney. What are you gonna do about that, Judge? You can't do a damn thing.
Right.
So.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the jury consultant, somebody asked, is Richard Gabriel, decision analysis. He picked helped pick the OJ jury for the defense. He picked my Specter jury. He's helped us pick the Aaron Hernandez jury, the Casey Anthony jury. He's a major player in the world of trial consulting.
Yeah,
and he also knows AJ from having cases against him. Right.
I was asking him. I said, obviously, your work on the OJ trial, the murder trial, was successful, but I covered very closely the burglary trial in Vegas, in which he was convicted, and where OJ and I became very tight. Like I say, he's he's the nicest killer I've ever met, and Richard had nothing to do with selecting that jury. So, you know, maybe Richard's the secret weapon there when OJ is involved.
You guys might be my favorite guests of all time.
Oh, sure. You're saying that because you're not going to do any more guests.
Yeah. No, you guys.
Well, maybe us. Maybe you'll just do us. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Regulars.
You know, since we're other fellow podcasters, you're not competing for us.
Yeah, I don't want to compete with anybody, dude. You know,
there's a lot out there for folks. I mean, there's a lot. So
you have to post or pin this to the top. Yeah, you guys, if you guys aren't subscribed to Justice Serve TV, you guys are missing out. Don't be fools.
Okay, so Dizzy's going to subscribe us. Dizzy is in the chat. She's going to subscribe us. She's in Ireland right now. She's how many? She's what? It's
only 11 o'clock there.
You can't get insight on such, you know, talked about true crime cases anywhere on YouTube. I mean, I'm blown away by the experiences that you guys have had. So, you know, and I mean, agree with them or not, but you know,
we have no problem people disagreeing. In fact,
right, you're missing out if you're not listening to what they have to say, considering their experience.
We appreciate that. We love to have the other side come on. When we come into a case, we don't have a side. You know, we watch it unfold, and then we kind of make our own observations and analysis. And if it happens to be toward the prosecution, it's toward the prosecution. If it's toward the defense, if it's right up the middle because it's a very tough case, that's where we are. And we have no problem talking, jousting with people on the other side of any argument. I don't want to hear from people who have nothing to say but personal attacks. You know, bring some evidence, bring something of substance, and we can mix it up.
Bring something that is going to raise the interest of someone who worked the forensics on all of those cases. You know what I'm saying? Like bring your shit, dude, or shut up. So that's why I think it's just amazing that you guys now have a YouTube channel and you guys are and you guys are sharing your insights on the Karen Reed case, because I mean, let's just put it all out there on the table. Like, considering all of these cases that you guys have so much experience in firsthand, being involved in, have you ever seen anything like this?
This has everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Go ahead, Linda.
No, this is everything. The Sallyport videos. the fact that they were missing, the fact that the defense was lied to about them existing, the fact that then they appear, the fact that they're in the file of the Proctor factor, the termination of the lead investigator for those disgusting texts. 19 hours, and I think it was 16 hours actually, they had a suspect, they hadn't interviewed anybody. I mean, this is somebody, you know, when people say justice for John O'Keefe, I say justice for John O'Keefe and free Karen Read. The supporters should both be on the same level, because you want to find out what happened, right? You want to see what happened. He was drunk. You know, I know the defense is into this conspiracy theory, but Michael and I have discussed the fact that he was so drunk. What if he did fall and just hit his head and die?
Yep,
Okay?
maybe he's leaning against the car and she pulls away and he tumbles forward. Because remember where the car was and where the body was. I mean, that's some weird.
I'll tell you why I dismiss that theory, because of literally everything that we know about the McCabe's and the Alberts at this point and their behavior surrounding the incident. It's just that simple for me. So, you know, why would an ATF agent go to an Army base to destroy and get rid of his SIM card a day before he's going to be ordered to preserve it?
Yeah, that's suspicious.
There's no doubt that there's tons of suspicious activity. There's no doubt about it. There's more things we don't know than what we do know. And so when I look at this as if I were a juror hearing the case and the prosecution gets done, I don't know what the fuck happened. And that's not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's just not the case. So I don't know who did what to whom. I have no idea. But I know it doesn't prove the case against Karen Read.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. You need that juror, Will, and I've said this over and over again, and we preach this when we teach, and jury consultants tell us when we do focus group. You're looking for that juror that when they start getting into the weeds of what happened, and maybe 1 minute, and doing this and doing that, and they're not sure, somebody has to stand up and say, look, our job is not to determine what happened independently. Our job is to determine whether the prosecution proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's where I think there's problems in this case, bigly.
Yeah. And if your answer is, you know, I'm not sure what happened, well, there's your reasonable doubt. You're done. That's it. That's it. You're done. Don't try and help the prosecution. You're done.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I can't. It just seems like everything. And this is another thing I wanted to ask you guys about was I'm seeing a shift in the attitude of the Karen Read defense team. I'm seeing a shift towards fuck it. You know, I'm seeing a shift towards, you know, like now it seems ridiculous that Stiflin Spanky Brennan here is constantly trying to chop our legs out from under us. That seems to be his whole MO here. And we can't call him out on it because it seems unprofessional coming from us. And so that's the theme I'm getting now, because now, you know, Yannetti's last argument, he was just like, Your Honor, you know, on one side of his mouth, he's saying that he wants my client to have a fair trial. The other side of his mouth, he's been doing nothing but trying to sabotage our whole defense for weeks, you know, with motion after motion. And this is what so many of us have been waiting to hear somebody on Karen Read's defense team call out. And it seems like it's putting Bev in a position to where it's like, why aren't you doing something about this? And I want to get my hopes high on it, but what do you guys think?
Michael, you want to go first?
You know, I think most professionals, even when it looks like there's bias against them, even when it looks like the prosecution might be pulling some shady stuff, they're professionals and they respect the court, they respect the process. But how far can you push them? And I think you may have seen from Yannetti, it's past the point for him, right? So even though it's obvious to us watching that there's some weird shit happening, it's not really the norm for an attorney to speak up and point that out and cry and moan about it. Well, unless you're Lewin in California. In that case, he whines and cries about everything. But it's just not the professional thing to do. But if Yannetti gets pushed that far, how long before some of these other folks get pushed that far and just have to point out what we all have already seen?
Well, let's understand what happened with Yannetti too. the prosecution filed a motion to breach the attorney-client privilege, suggesting that Yannetti and Jackson, but Yannetti mostly, let Karen Reed speak, and therefore it's his fault that this privilege is breached. He was endangering his legal career for malpractice, for ethics charges, and all. So that's really what you have to understand underneath that. That was going after him on a real big professional level. People don't get that, okay? And that's when you do say, fuck it, okay? And the other thing you have going here is that I say, and people are going to hate me for this, Brennan is a good attorney, no matter what you like and think of him or not.
I think so too.
He turned, he did what he was supposed to do, kind of turned the shift around for a while, right? With the defense is doing things wrong. Now it's coming back.
Now, good attorney. I have to be specific on what I say. I say that he knows what he's doing.
Right. Yes.
He's skilled,
right.
But
skilled
he's
attorney.
Extremely unethical. But he's a very skilled attorney. I absolutely agree with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We love the dog. We have a dog always.
Yeah.
Skilled is what you said. The problem that what I came to the other night, and I think I mentioned it on the air, is that how was he and why was he hired? I think, and it's come to me now that I think that somehow he said something to the effect of Karen Reed asked the feds to get involved in this investigation of we're not quite sure, right, whether it's a death or it's involving the office, involving Proctor, because the feds don't give you the actual scope, right? And this is a payback hiring Hank Brennan. This is a payback hiring somebody who knows that he's really that kind of skilled, that he's a defense attorney, that he represented Whitey Bulger, and therefore he can do almost anything. And I think this is the payback for the going to the feds. That's what I think this is.
I made that point, not the exact point, but I made this point too. I wasn't thinking so much revenge, but I think that Morrissey hired Hank Brennan for the same point. I made this point, I think, a couple of nights ago, where I was saying that he was hired to be able to do the nasty things because he's a special prosecutor. I heard Ken Mello did an interview, and he's the special prosecutor that was brought on to prosecute Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney. And in this interview, he was saying, well, I was brought on as a special prosecutor, and I don't answer to anyone. I do anything, whatever I feel is up to me to do. I don't answer to anyone. So I'm of the opinion that plays a factor into why he hired Brennan, because Brennan is a defense attorney. And he's basically, let's just face it here, their whole prosecution is defending the McAlberts. It was in the first trial, and it is in this one too. So now, Morrissey hires him to play defense. And I love that Yannetti called that out too. He said he's acting like a defense attorney here. And which really helped with his third party culprit argument, I believe. But Morrissey, hiring Brennan, I think plays a factor where Morrissey doesn't have to answer for the things that Brennan does. And that's why he's able to do so in such a blatantly unethical manner.
Yeah, Morrissey doesn't seem to answer for much of anything. Just kind of somewhere back there behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Pulling some strings, but nobody, after
but he's
his
behind it all.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the whole thing, people have talked about when we compare this case to others from different states, the judges being appointed in this jurisdiction is such an important issue because they have insulation from those above, right? They can act in a way that we think is biased, but the person who put them in that position is perfectly fine with that. And the person who put that person in position seems to be fine with it. They don't have to worry about, hey, I'm going to be voted out next time, because I'm pretty sure she would be.
What do you think, Linda?
I don't know. I think you have to win these wars in the trenches. I think you have to win these wars in the courtroom. I don't think you win them in the political scene because, everyone's tied together in some way. I mean, how is it that Proctor, the state police, was even allowed to continue on this case when people saw his text. They all agreed with him. That's how. All right.
Right.
So they had to, or else somebody would have come forward and said something. I tell the story when I was a prosecutor and I was the head of the sex crimes unit there in Monmouth County, New Jersey. And one of my investigators I saw testify not quite accurately on the stand about his credentials. And I went up and reported him. I knew that could be an issue, right? I knew that could be an issue because you're the whistleblower, but I wasn't going to have it. Just wasn't going to have it. And so your ethics have to start early on. And I think that politics gets in the way here. But I don't know why there's so much politics to convict her. I mean, cops get convicted of things all the time. Cops get convicted of bad things. Look at the George Floyd case.
What is the hard on for Karen Reed?
I think she's just a scapegoat, because if it's not her,
millions of taxpayer dollars going towards prosecuting her.
If it's not her, then you look elsewhere, like a real, investigation would. And where does that lead you? That leads you to cops.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what it boils down to. Okay, but so be it. Like you're saying, I mean, it happens all the time. What's the problem?
I think when it's as widespread as it appears,
all of this money and resources being spent to protect Brian Albert, essentially.
Well, that's what I think. That's where I think it doesn't go just to Brian Albert. I think it continues on and on, whether you call it political or just Good Old Boys Network or the way they do things there. It affects many more people up the chain, and that's why you protect.
But why? The question is why they want to protect the Alberts so badly,
and everybody above them, and so they can keep their jobs and they can continue to be powerful and they can bring, I mean, that's just human nature. It's self-preservation.
Yeah, and why go after it for murder? I mean, this is murder, and yet we see people, and you know who I'm talking about, a number of commentators on X who have big followings, that everything the defense does is corrupt and everything the prosecution does is correct. Right. I mean, we're looking at these motions. Michael and I were astounded that, although not too much, because I know what happens being a defense attorney. You always feel like that. The prosecution gets everything they want in, even in bad science. I've been involved in forensic science for a long time. All the bad science that the whole idea of Daubert, Lanigan was supposed to protect against, the prosecution gets this stuff in. When the defense wants it in, it's like, no, let's have a hearing. And then it's going to be a close call, like Dr. Russell. And we still don't even know about Easter, right? Easter,
no, we don't know about Easter. And we don't know about third-party culpability either.
And we don't know about third-party culpability, right? Which,
unless it came out in the last half hour or so, we've had that happen where we're on and something pops.
Yeah, so, but, the case is, this case is going to be fought, very hard fought this time. I think it's going to be worse. What was it, 10 weeks last time the trial took?
I don't know. That sounds close, yeah.
I can't imagine it being...
Right. If they get a jury by the third week...
6, I think.
What's that?
They predicted 6, but it went longer.
6?
I know that I know that Lally claimed it was supposed to be 4 weeks to present his case, and Jackson said 2 to present the defenses, but it went longer.
And cross-examination, what's going to happen here. We saw cross-examination. And Hank Brennan, being a defense attorney, is a skilled cross-examiner. Usually prosecutors are not very skilled cross-examiners. John Lewin likes to think he is because of Durst. But, to be a really skilled cross-examiner, Alan Jackson's a skilled cross-examiner because he, even though he was a prosecutor, he knows how to examine, I love cross-examination. I mean,
most attorneys do. Most trial attorneys do. It's you wait for it. You love it, and the moment you get in court that you nail the person you've been studying for, preparing for. Oh man, there's nothing better.
I think that Alan Jackson felt like Rocky after he cross-examined Michael Proctor. I feel like he went home on a cloud.
He definitely enjoyed it. You could tell he was enjoying every minute drawing.
And I enjoyed it for him. Enjoyed it for him, like just, the way he just snuck that in there, that shame on you, sir. It's just, yes, man, good for you. And it was like he did it for all of us. You know what I mean? Like it's fun. It's as much as I hate that this is happening, it's fun to watch the passion coming from Karen Reed's defense team. And the thing is, talking about Brennan being a good cross-examiner. I want to piggyback to that thought.
He is a technically good prosecutor.
I
I don't want to go after him for that because he really is. Okay.
I want to piggyback off that thought because I got that glimpse of him. That's when I started to take him seriously, was when he was questioning Dr. Russell. As much as I hated it, because I thought he was just bullying her,
Right.
But he was good at it, and that worried me, as much as I hated it, because he knew he could tell that she was somebody who took her time to collect her thoughts so that she can answer something clearly. That while she's stuttering to do that, he's beating up on her. He's got her in the corner. It's dirty, but he knows what he's doing. And
Right.
That's what really made me nervous when I watched him.
Now here's I mean, she's not a professional witness, and I think that's exactly right. That he was taking advantage of that. Ultimately, what's the jury going to think about Hank Brennan? I don't think it's going to be good.
I don't think
I
so
say
either.
never underestimate the power of likability. This guy is not likable unless he has he's a two-face.
He is not likable at all.
No,
the guy just screams weasel.
Yes, yes, he does. Yes.
What got me is at the hearing last week, not this week's hearing on Aiden Carney, Dr. Turtleboy, under Karen Reed's case number about whether or not the phones were going to be turned over. He didn't say to the judge, Your Honor, the defense team was in a case management. They're going to be orally objecting to this. We should go find them because I know they want to appear here. And obviously there was some mixed communication. Somebody was late, whatever it was. And he should have said to the judge, and then he objected on the basis of standing, which he knew better. And to me, that was the turning point in terms of how I viewed him. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to interview him, wouldn't want to talk to him, but I'd love to know why he did something like that. Because to me, that's kind of,
he was trying to pull a fast one, and did he think he could really get away with it? I mean, I don't know what's going through his head. He thinks he's going to get his argument through, get a decision, and these folks aren't going to get a whiff of it because they talked about it at the bench with Judge Bev Canoni just 2 days before.
He's managed to just breeze this stuff right, just slap Beverly Canoni in the face with it, and she does nothing except eat it, and then this other judge today, this guy wasn't having it.
He was good.
He was not having it. He was like, dude, man, like at one point he straight up said, yes, I'm not questioning that was the conversation you and I had, Your Honor, but my answer to that is that I don't know what my answer to that was.
I misspoke.
Like misunderstood. I said counter words. He said misunderstood. How many times did the judge kind of gave them the answer? Did you happen to misunderstand me? Didn't I say this?
Like, so yeah. Well, what are you saying here? It's like he's like, I'm on to your double talk, and you just said nothing. So I'm going to give you a chance to actually say something. And I was loving it. I was loving every second of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all were because we were come to expect the judge to say no, and he just put them all in their place. He said, "My order was this. My order was you could have the phones for the text between Karen Reed and Aiden Carney from this date to this date."
Period.
Was that not clear to any of you? Right? Yep. Was that not clear? And it was wonderful. But that's the way they should be. Everybody. The problem is that the prosecution we're used to seeing them get everything, and the poor defense gets reamed, right? Even though they're doing a fabulous job
every time.
I'm sure Brennan didn't know what to do today because the judge interrupted him. I don't think I've seen that happen in Judge Bev's court.
Tracy Walker gifted 50 memberships. That
Holy
is
cow!
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. We got to give her a Oscar.
Nice.
Tracy Walker, thank you so much.
That's great. So I don't know, Will. I mean, I didn't meet you in person, but Michael has spoken highly of you. But going back to
I
Alan
look
Jackson,
forward to meeting you in person someday because
I can't wait. I know. Well,
Yeah.
going back to Alan, okay, as I said, having a unique perspective of trying to work against him. Alan listens to the answer to the question that somebody has given to see where it is he could go. Most attorneys are just like, okay.
Check,
Right.
check,
Next
check.
He
Off grove.
listens, okay? And now he's not going to have only what he had before. He's going to have transcripts of prior testimony. And I have seen the best attorneys in my life that I've watched take one word that may be different and then cross-examine on it for 3 hours, okay? Because you have that one differential. So he's going to have that. That's why I don't think, this is going to take 6 weeks. I think it's going to take a long time. And by the way, your dog is barking. Has your dog ever done anything wrong, like pee on the floor? Did you give your dog away?
It's not my dog.
That's my dog.
It's
Domino's.
It's Michael's dog.
Trying to get
we
my
also
attention.
have Chloe, right? The prosecution is trying to indicate that they took a bite mark impression. Bite mark impressions are like the worst junk science in the world, okay? For people. I can't imagine how much has been written on dogs because no one does bite mark impressions and air rates on dogs. They know if it's a dog bite. They can tell if it's a dog bite.
No, it's useless. What you get at the end is useless. Yep.
Linda, you have experience doing the forensics in these cases. So, I mean, my whole argument has been, this is ridiculous. The dog bite impressions is a moot thing. First of all, how are you going to prove that that's Chloe? Chloe's dead. We all know it. Stop it. So how are you going to prove that that's Chloe? First of all, there's no DNA. DNA is the only thing that you could possibly do to match that that's Chloe, because the bite mark impressions, if somebody's getting bit by a dog, you don't need to be a dog bite expert. It's common sense. That person's jerking.
Right. And they move. It's like people.
Right.
Same thing.
How are
they
you?
move. Right.
How are you?
And as they dry up, they change. And also, as a dog gets older, if you're taking dentition, it changes. Bite mark is just ridiculous. Now, people can tell you if it's a dog bite or a dog thing because there was a case about 30 years ago, number of cases out of Canada, and everybody does forensics knows them. Every forensic pathologist knows them, where where women were being wrongfully convicted of killing their children. Right? The forensic pathologist was arguing that it was being beaten up, and it turns out they were dogs. They were like, what we now would call ex-bullies or whatever, like that. And then it came to be known that they actually had a commission in Canada for this forensic pathologist because he was causing wrongful convictions on a lot of women for killing their kids when he didn't understand the difference between a wound by a knife or a blunt force injury and a dog bite. Okay, but that doesn't mean you can match the dog bite. That's different.
Right.
And that's right. So
right. I mean, common sense, when you just take a second to think about it, it doesn't make sense that they would even do that. It's just smoke and mirrors. Remember
what they're going to try and prove with this expert. They're going to try and say that it was not Chloe. Okay. Now that means that's one argument. Okay. And they're going to say, well, that's the only dog it could have been if it happened in the house. That's what the defense is suggesting. Well, are they then going to be able to say it's not any dog? I mean, where do they think they're going with the information that they have? They don't win unless they discounted any dog, any animal, anything other than shards of a taillight.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. And in all of this, we just keep, at least the Karen Reed is guilty crew, that they tend to forget that the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth, and they have even less of a case going into it this time. And the theory of the taillight is just ridiculous. No one believes that. How is a man's elbow? First of all, there's no way that plastic, that polycarbonate, is that what it is?
That's what it is.
There's no way that's going to break. There's no way that somebody's elbow is going to break that without fracturing their elbow, or you know what I mean. are leaving some bruising, at least. Those are clearly dog bites. Those are clearly, something done by an animal attack. There's no way that in one single impact, it's going to clip his elbow, send him flying 10 feet into the air, and then his head is going to break on frozen ground cushioned by snow. It's not going to happen. Like, it's crazy. And so now they're going to go into this case, and it's very telling that the experts that they have are clearly not qualified, but yet
they are now.
But they are now, because Bev has let them in. And so we're seeing the kind of case that he's going to present, and we're also seeing a pattern of him just simply trying to cut the defense's legs out from under them. So
but think about this: they had to go to Florida to get a neurologist who does so much in gamma ray surgery, right? Makes a fortune apparently in gamma ray surgery, to come into the state of Massachusetts to get around 2 medical examiners that were hired by the state of Massachusetts and the ARCA people hired by the feds to say, oh, all of them are wrong because this contra blow had to be caused by hit by a car where then he fell to the ground. That's what they're doing. So they're trying to get around. You try to get around your own people, okay? Well, get around Proctor, okay? Why don't you try to get around Proctor?
That's so bizarre. That's very telling, is it not? That they're trying to get around their own people. Like, they're literally tripping over their own feet. And it's, well, not literally, but but they are tripping over their own feet. It's crazy. And the fact that this is going on, the fact that it went to trial in the first place, considering how this investigation was conducted, is mind-blowing. And the fact that it's happening a second time, I can't even process.
Yeah.
Like, I can't find any justification for it.
We talk about that all the time, that they had so many off-ramps to at least correct the original mistake, which was to overcharge with second-degree murder, which is ridiculous. It's a joke. So when they hear that the jurors have decided unanimously against conviction on 1 and 3, don't you think if you're a prosecutor, you take a step back and go, wonder, what's this case really like? And did we just blow it here? Is it all because Lally is a bit of a panty waist? Do we need a big bulldog in here to change the way this thing goes out? I mean, they have to be having those conversations, and it's so unrealistic. It just blows my mind that they think this case is still good. This is a solid case. We got to pursue this.
Right. They have to know that it's not. And we know that they know that it's not, based on what Brennan has been doing. That's the only, that's evidence right there that they know, that they are conscious of the fact that they shouldn't be prosecuting this case. What tells you that they're conscious of this fact is the fact that they have to go and do underhanded things. You can't just present your case.
It does make you wonder.
Yeah, and they could have come, look, Michael O'Brien and I talked about it, and for the free Karen Reeds producers, they don't necessarily like it. They could have said, look, okay, you knew he was really drunk. You dropped him off in the snow. You didn't care about what happened. You left, and then he died somehow. Well, let's assume there was no conspiracy. Let's plead you to some kind of misdemeanor or whatever, felony, no jail time, just for not caring, right?
Yeah, just a misdemeanor, and you're going to go to some drug or alcohol rehab school or something. You could make that case.
You as a prosecutor can make that case.
I know the free Karen Reed people won't like it, but you could make that case, with the drinking and the accident, however it happened, if it involved something she did, you can make that case. But when you overcharge like they've done, and it leads to things like, well, why didn't you investigate this? Why didn't you investigate them? Why didn't you go here? Why didn't you go there? It so obscures the underlying fact of the case.
I am going to leave you for a second, and I'm coming back because I promised.
Okay. What did you promise?
You know what I promised.
I have no idea what you promised. What time is it? I hate to have to go when we're the last guests on Will's show, but I probably got to run in a few minutes myself. I don't know what she's promised, but there she goes. She's
well, while she steps away,
Yes.
another 50 memberships gifted by
my
Tracy
gosh.
Walker. Amazing. And make sure, guys,
that is unbelievable.
that really is. And make sure, guys, take a second while we're waiting for Linda to come back.
Jeez.
Take a second to click on the link that I've got pinned to the top of the chat. That is Justice Serve TV's channel link. Make sure to subscribe to them. Because
Oh my gosh, there she is.
oh wow. Okay.
Why would I know
Yeah,
you were going to get that? Why would I even think that?
You're muted, Linda. You're muted. You're muted.
Hey, don't challenge that, Will, when it happens. Trust me.
I don't have the battery pack put in right now because that's over there. How do you get past the leaf blower to blow away what would be evidence? All right, just take the picture. Now, most of you won't see me carrying a leaf blower most of the time. I don't generally don't.
It's not. Is that a Gucci leaf blower?
No, I bought it. I bought it on Amazon on one of their Amazon sale days. But how do you get past this?
I have to say, when I saw the video where they're blowing the snow away, it was far less stupid than I thought it was going to be when just talking about it. I don't think it's necessarily the proper procedure, but it was far less stupid than I could envision this big old, like a plow of snow blowing all over. It was really, kind of delicately removing some of the top snow.
It was exactly what I pictured. I'm not gonna lie. It was exactly.
I thought it was going to be so much worse than that.
I even pictured somebody Gallagher-ish, to be doing it. Like the guy, I didn't know what he looked like on the stand when I first read the report. And when I saw him sitting on the stand, I was like, that totally tracks. Like the dude, the total Gomer Pyle. He's a freaking Barney Fife. Like I was like that. It just tracks that guy would be out there with a leaf blower going, let me blow all the evidence all over the place. It was exactly how I pictured it, which is disturbing.
I'm more disturbed about you, Will. I think.
Right. That my imagination, dude, listen, you guys can't deny the fact that there are some unforgettable characters that if they were fictional, whoever created them would be considered a genius.
Oh yeah.
Because
no Hollywood production company is going to do this story. It's just so full of holes, so ridiculous. Never happened.
Nobody could ever think up Grant Smith Ellis. You would have to be a comedic genius to think up Grant Smith Ellis. He has like that. You wouldn't, if you didn't know he was a real guy, you wouldn't believe that he was a real guy. Leah Baker, thanks you. What are you guys' thoughts on how Defense 2.0 should handle more complex cross, considering BC cut them off 1.0 and told them we are done here, no more, and likely to do the same thing? I don't fully understand that question.
Yeah, I don't think the defense is going to be any more tame. I think they're going to fight every step of the way, and if Judge Cannoli is going to try to put the clamp on them, they're going to get away with as much as they can get away with. They're going to be as zealous as they were last time, maybe even more so. They're not afraid of Judge Bev.
They're not afraid of Judge Bev, and they are not afraid of Brennan. They are fed up. This is the part, like if this were an action movie, this is the part where Karen Reed's defense team is gearing up. There's a montage of like putting on war
slow
paint,
motion, motion.
All of that. That's what they're doing right now. This is the not fucking around crew. All of a sudden now, I mean, they weren't before, but now it's like, okay, we see how dirty this is, and we're just going to call it out. Everything, and I think that a lot of it is just to make sure it all goes on the record. They want to make sure all of this goes on the record so that they can argue it later and point it out and go, dude, this is clearly what happened, and we called it out. So I'm really excited about how they're going to handle this. I hate that it's happening, but I'm really excited to see how the defense handles this. And I think, and tell me if you guys agree, I think that the defense witness list speaks to this a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people on that defense witness list, a lot more than there was last trial.
Yeah, no, it's true. And they've also remember there's more people coming in for the prosecution, so they're ready for it. My favorite point, and we haven't heard yet, where the judge is going to allow Mr. Easter about how the crime scene was screwed up. I can see this judge saying, well, you can make that argument because it's within the ken of the jurors that you shouldn't use a leaf blower or solo cup. But she was pretty arguing with them, we don't do experts. Give me a Massachusetts case here. Well, it's so obvious that usually you don't have to have it. I mean, experts come in to talk about all sorts of things. And if you're going to allow a neurosurgeon to come in to talk about a mechanism of death to get around manner of death, you should be allowed to have a police expert with credentials come in to talk about this is how you're supposed to handle a crime scene investigation and what was wrong with it to show reasonable doubt. And I think if he denies that, that's a real problem.
That's what I say. If that Easter motion isn't resurrected, see what I did there? If that Easter motion dies, if that thing dies, that will be the clearest, in my mind, the clearest evidence of bias that I have ever seen, especially when you consider some of the other so-called experts that she's allowed into this trial. I would be, that'd be it for me. Any benefit of the doubt I've given would be gone.
What do you guys think of the fact that the prosecution's not even calling Dr. Scorti-Bello up?
First of all, I don't know if I believe him, Linda. I don't know. I mean, just because Brennan says we're not going to, because he thinks at the moment he says it, it gives him some sort of tactical advantage. He's full of shit all the time. So the woman is listed as a witness on their list. So he has
except that he wants to cross-examine her. And then the order today. I have the order. Hold on a second. The order was interesting because it said, hold on, this is the pretrial memorandum, reciprocal discovery. Then that wasn't even dried in terms of being filed when the Commonwealth filed a motion to exclude the reciprocal discovery, specific discovery, affidavit, response to. I think actually I may have put it away, but I had it. It said on the bottom, it was handwritten. She can be examined on this at trial, is what it said. And that tells me that Hank Brennan wants to cross-examine her and not put her on as his witness where he can't cross-examine her. That's why.
That's bizarre.
Yes, it is.
That is the medical examiner. That is crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's no other way he can handle her. He brings in somebody who's
jury.
He brings in somebody who's not even qualified to do what the ME should have done.
Right.
And discredits her and has the jury rely on the expert who's come in with the more favorable opinion for prosecution.
And remember, that expert couldn't sign a death certificate for John O'Keefe's death in Massachusetts because it's a suspicious circumstance. It was a medical examiner case, and he wasn't a patient of the new doctor who's coming in. Was it Wolf or is it? Well, I'm getting them confused.
Is it Wolf or
Isaac Wolf? I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Or Isaac, whatever it is. So he couldn't even sign it. He couldn't even sign the death certificate as to the cause of death in Massachusetts, and yet the state is bringing him in.
This is wild. And then you got the meteorologist who's supposed to determine how hard the ground was.
The ground is hard, gosh darn it. Thanks. Thanks for that.
A guy who determines, or who supposedly his job is to predict which way the wind blows and how cold it's going to be, but can determine, because he's not a geologist. Isn't that what a geologist does, is determine stuff on the ground?
Right. Usually geologist does, and in terms of the water, what's the water in the ground, and how long with the temperature so that it freezes, depending on the striations in the ground. Is it made of? Is it?
Well, was there some soil samples taken that I'm unaware of?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
any soil samples.
Did you say any soil samples?
They do a core sample.
Right. Was there a core sample taken that evening?
Yeah.
Of the ground? Did somebody stick a thermometer in the ground that night? And
if they stuck a thermometer in the ground, it wasn't very hard, was it?
Well, in all fairness, I've come from the restaurant bar industry, and there's thermometers with very pointy ends that you can stick into meat and things of that nature, just to. Nobody did that. which I mean, it could have been done, but nobody did, and yet they're going to argue how hard the ground was. And I'm dying to see what they're going to do with the whole Trooper Paul situation.
Oh gosh,
I mean, he
that
sat
guy.
there. Have you ever seen a bigger train wreck of a testimony?
Just so frightening.
From an
nobody talked to this guy before he testified. It was just embarrassing.
Oh my God, but funny. But funny. Like when you go back and watch it now, like it hits different and it's hilarious. Like AJ is just like the look on AJ's face, he's constantly dumbfounded. Like, is this guy? He's got the look of, is this guy fucking with me? I can't
like,
tell if he's fucking
am I
with
getting
me.
punked here? What's the deal?
Right? Am I right? Like I'm supposed to be playing a mind game with him, and
with only one mind? That's the problem.
Right? What's right? What the fuck
one
is
mind
going
shy.
on here?
Wait, maybe it was severance. Part of the brain was in the work area, and part of it would help out.
It was just severed from when he gets on the stand. That's when it disappears.
We're trying to point out that, look, this is a really important case for everybody, but the problem is it's been handled so badly. It gives trials a bad name. It gives forensics a bad name. It gives the judge a bad name for letting a lot of this bullshit in. It gives the prosecution a bad name for trying to go around their own witnesses. Now, sometimes you have to do that because maybe the medical examiner has not seen a certain type of thing or not experienced enough, and you've seen that, or is lying to protect somebody. But that's not this case. That's not this case.
Right. Yeah. There's more wrong with this investigation than anything that was done right. I mean, I've never seen that before. And we know that Michael Proctor knows better as an investigator because his request for a warrant shows and documents a very thorough investigation for Brian Walsh, to get a warrant for Brian Walsh.
Remind everybody who that is, because some people, I think, sometimes don't know. We found
so
out
Brian Walsh. Brian Walsh is being accused of killing his wife, Anna Walsh. And I mean, right there, which is really funny because the same prosecution who is trying to say that Celebrite is incredible in the Karen Reed case is going to argue that Celebrite is going to actually rely on Celebrite searches to convict Brian Walsh. So that should be very interesting. This is going to be just the stark contrast between those investigations by the same lead investigator screams that he knows what he's doing. This isn't negligence. This is corruption. It just is.
And how they allowed him, I'm sorry, during the trial, knowing those texts, to testify. I firmly believe, and I've said this, that there had to be some kind of, in the drawer investigation going on that would have been Brady material in the first trial. It just didn't come out. They just didn't wait and not talk. They had not talk about things, right? It just didn't. And then one of the charges is they dismiss him because he brings disrepute on the Massachusetts State Police because of his texts. Not that he may be convicting an innocent woman, but he brings disrepute on the reputation of the Massachusetts State Police. Come on.
That's you're gonna have to do a little better than that. It's really like it's so obvious that this is just. I mean, I could cite something that like this is like the movie Changeling, which is a true story, right? Clint Eastwood directed it. Angelina Jolie, where her son, her small, I guess he's like an 8 or 10-year-old son, gets kidnapped, and then the police go and give her back a different kid, some vagabond kid, and say, no, that's your kid. And then they gaslight the shit out of her, and they even stick her in a mental institution because she's saying, this is not my son, right? But it turns out that there was a serial killer and everything. But then eventually the LAPD get exposed for what they did in a hearing, and it's like the same thing. Like there's somebody who's going to fall on their sword, the main guy, and the LAPD is supposed to not answer for this. But so there's just always this one fall guy, and I think that that's what they're trying to do. The MSP is just trying to get this. Michael Proctor is the fall guy here, to take attention away, and then they're saying that it's all about the text messages, and it has nothing really to do with the investigation and how it was conducted, even though there is kind of a fine print there where Yannetti quotes it in his last argument. But there's Proctor being somebody who the Commonwealth and the MSP seem to just want to have their just to fall on his sword and be like, no, the MSP is still good and the investigation was still good. One bad apple, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear Brendan has already begun that process of throwing him under the bus, and I expect during the trial it'll continue. But the problem is you got nothing to cover for him. It's not like you have 3 other guys that were doing equal or better work that didn't do weird text.
Right.
Tully
got suspended. Tully got suspended.
Yeah, I mean, you just got a massive hole in the investigation. I don't know how they fill that in. I have no idea.
The investigators aren't credible. Doesn't that weigh pretty heavy in other cases? You guys
would think so.
Like in other cases that you guys have any experience in, can you think of one where
no, they don't go to trial. They don't go to trial, those cases.
They don't go to trial, right?
No. Right.
That's crazy. That is so crazy.
So are you going to be there, Will, at all? Are you going up at all?
I'm trying to get up there in April. Yeah. I'm trying to get up there in April. No set date yet, but I'm trying to get up there in April.
Yeah. Wait till they get a jury and they're about to do the openings,
Yeah, well, everybody will be there, including the mainstream media for that, because they want to try to get the gets so they can get the show afterwards. And then the courtroom will be, as you know, after the first couple of days, the courtroom gets empty and no one's there. Of course, that courtroom is hard to get empty.
Probably not empty, but less buzz. I mean, even for some of the pretrial motions that I've been there for, there ain't a lot of other media there at all. So,
yeah. And what's funny is I hardly ever really create content and put it out when I'm up there. I think I did that the most the last time I was up there, and that was my 5th time up there. For me, it's more about just showing support. Like, I'm just grateful that the Reed family will allow me to have a seat in support of them, because I believe in Karen Reed's innocence, and I have so much respect for the Reed family and their solidarity and how driven they are to fight for their daughter, cousin, sister.
I know the sister of Karen Reed was on our chat the other night, and certainly we'd love to speak to her and also the dad. I mean, I think it's important that people see where defendants come from. And I think that, we're all talking about the family of John O'Keefe, and that's important. He died. He's, whatever happened, he died. And, maybe he shouldn't have died for whatever reason. But there's another family also. And whenever we say that about a defendant, people go, rah, rah, rah. But I think it's important to see where people come from, because when you see where they come from, you have a different feeling about who the person on trial is.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, there's a very, I know that some people kind of get lost in it, and it's easy to see Karen as kind of a celebrity figure because she's in the spotlight. She's doing all these interviews and things of that nature. And she's this image of such a warrior. And that's exactly what she is, but she's not a celebrity. I look at her like, people will be like, are you, why are you so loyal to Aiden? Why are you so loyal to Karen Reed? Well, it's my way of answering that. I would say is I'm loyal in the same sense that her and Aiden's attorneys are, not that I'm, being retained, because I'm not in any way, shape, or form, but they believe in the fight that they're fighting. I believe in the fight that Karen Reed is fighting. Karen Reed is a soldier, and she's in the front lines, and she has the most to lose. But what this is about is still even bigger than her, which is the justice system working the way it's supposed to for everyone. And that's very important. And it's good to see defense attorneys be the good guys, and to have been able to pick the brains of such, people like yourselves and and members of Karen Reed's team and Turtle Boy's team. It's been an amazing privilege to be able to do that, because this is an injustice that's taking place on both ends, on both Turtle Boys and Karen Reed's. And
well, we're happy to share whatever we can bring to the mix. And I think one of the key things about this case is that people think, man, that could be me. That could be me sitting there going through this, putting up with this injustice as it appears to be unfolding, so it's a vicarious thrill nobody wants,
Yeah.
Sure.
And you guys have seemed, every time I've watched you guys now, real quick, tell us about the live you just did today with Mr. Weinstein, Doug Weinstein.
We got to be buddies with Doug. Doug represented Yak Gotti, Diamantri Kendrick, in the YSL case down in Fulton, lovely Fulton County. Talk about your possible corruption. Let's just say they've got their own issues down there. And I met him when we went down. That was one of the first cases we covered from the road. And we just kind of, he adopted us, we adopted him. And so he hadn't been watching this Karen Reed case because people have lives. So, he's practicing law and he's doing his thing. But at a certain point, even he got sucked in. And he made a post that was basically critical of anybody who speaks out too much. And he was suggesting maybe Karen could be a little more quiet about the whole thing. Not that he was siding with the prosecution, but just as a general proposition. Hey,
I've heard this. I mean, even Aiden has said this.
Yeah, he's like,
I've heard a lot of people who support Karen who feel that she probably should not
exactly
do
that
much public speaking.
And as a defense attorney or any attorney, your client can be their own worst enemy if they just chat too much. So he, our point in having him on to kind of bring him into the mix was something got him off the couch, from being kind of a passive observer, and it was the whole attorney-client thing. So we talked to him about that tonight. Some of the other issues, people love him from YSL. He gets an acquittal for Yak Gotti.
Wow.
2 years of trial, and he gets a full acquittal on the charges
in his first criminal trial.
Right,
it's a civil trial before that. First criminal trial.
Right.
Yeah.
So this guy's got chops for sure.
And he's just a good guy.
And he seemed like it. Like I could tell that he was passionate about his opinions. I only caught the last leg of what you guys were streaming with him, but he's like every time he brought up a subject or a subject was brought up to him, he'd shake his head and be like, "Oh my God," like he's been like it's been consuming him. Why is this happening? Which is so validating to the rest of us. When folks like you and folks like him and Bettero and Nan and everybody are just like, dude, there is something seriously wrong here. This is not normal. And
I kept warning him. I said, the more you get into this, because you go into it clean slate, and then you start seeing things and more things. And so he's probably at the 20% level of knowing what's happened here. I said, it ain't getting better. As you get into this and you learn more and more, it is not better.
Yeah, I have. Well, yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to, like I said, when I if I'm going to have guests, they have to be very, very special guests. And I have been talking about having this one person on, and I'm still going to work on having them on before I call this whole having guest thing. But this will be a special guest because he's not part of this community. He's part of another community, and he's actually a leader in another community for the most part, as far as like driving this issue. And so I'm hoping to have him on soon. And he's the Dad Challenge podcast. And when it's funny when he rarely ever covers a crime case, but when he does, he's really good at it. And he did the I think it was the Gabby Petito case. And Peacock did a documentary, and he was all over that, and he just covered it like in one stream and just killed it. It was amazing. And Peacock like used his footage to discuss the case, which was amazing. So hopefully I'll get him up here because I know that this case will blow his mind. Like, so just to reiterate, and I have done that before where I've had people who are from another community come up here. I had these guys, Hannibal and Monty. Their channel is hilarious. And then I did like 3 parts where I explained this case to them live, and they were like, yeah. So you get people's reaction who are not familiar with the case, even if they don't follow true crime, their minds are blown by how insane this is.
Yeah, well, I am proud to have been maybe one of your last guests. Thanks for bringing us into the mix here, Will.
Thank you very much, Will. And all of our subscribers should obviously follow you.
That's right. If you aren't already in the Glarer mix, get in there.
So. Yeah, get in there. But yes, guys, Justice Served TV, Linda and Michael, an excellent insight. Thank you guys so much. Remember, their link to their channel is pinned to the top of the chat. Stop what you're doing right now, click on it, subscribe, and go back and watch the show that they had with Doug Weinstein. He was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, good guy.
But
okay, man. Well, I'll see. I know I'm going to see you up there at some point. So
yeah, for sure.
Until
then,
man.
Michael's our correspondent on the road. We both have full-time law practices, so it's a little hard for me to get on the road. But I always kid him. I said, "You get to go on the road, and I get to stay home and get my hair done."
There you go. That's right. That's right. It's a perfect combination. It's a good.
It looks good, Linda. It looks great.
Thanks.
No. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this conversation. And guys, make sure to subscribe to Justice Served TV. Make sure to give their last and every video they got a like, and make sure to catch everyone coming up, because I know that they're going to have a lot of great insight into this case and many others moving forward. And I really want their channel to grow because I know they're a couple of the good guys. So make sure to do that, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Take care, man.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys. Oh my gosh, man. Weren't they amazing? Yes, they are fantastic people. Oh wow. Thank you guys. So yeah, just to reiterate a little bit, I'm definitely going to slow down on having guests, or at least guests within the community that are already pretty, making their rounds. You're just going to have to deal with me moving forward for the most part. And that's just, I want everybody to do well. So, so yeah, I'm gonna see if I could get Josh up here pretty soon, and hopefully maybe I can get Annie up here again too. Who knows? No promises on that. She's a busy lady, and for the most part, I think covering the trial, maybe I'll collab with Aiden if he wants to, because that has always been a good little dynamic that we've always had. I see no reason to change that. And he has so much valuable insight. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm going to fly solo for as much as I possibly can, guys. Man, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I didn't get to give you guys too much attention when I have guests. When it comes to super chats, I will highlight them so that they're seen, and then I will try to address some of them as I can. But I like to keep the conversation nice and natural and flowing. And I really enjoyed the conversation that I had with Linda and Michael, because they're just amazing. So, guys, I am going to wrap this up. I'm really grateful to hang out with you guys. Make sure to subscribe to me as well if you're not subscribed, and make sure to hit the like, because this is a show that I am particularly proud of. So it would mean the world to me if you guys acknowledged how much I love the show by hitting the like. And if you felt even remotely the same way, hit the like. Yeah, man, you guys, with all your support, thank you so much for everything. You guys are amazing. I am so grateful to get to hang out with you every time I do. Every time, it's always like the first time. So I love you guys very much. We will do this again very soon, my friends.